And here's why. We have some breaking news. There's a decision from a New York judge in President-elect Donald Trump's immunity case, and that decision means that the case has been delayed by a week. The president-elect was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection with payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Trump denied any wrongdoing. His lawyers are now arguing that the Supreme Court jury's ruling shields him from prosecution. CBS News political reporter, attorney Katrina Kaufman has been tracking the details, and she joins me now. Katrina, so explain what this decision means and whether or not the president's actions that he took in office were official acts. What is the judge considering?
Hi, Vlad. So what we've just learned is we were waiting for a decision from Judge Juan Merchan today on whether or not the verdict in this case should be thrown out on the basis of presidential immunity. What's now happened is this has been postponed by a week. The prosecution has asked for some time to weigh the balance of this jury verdict against the office of the president, the fact that Trump has now been re-elected president. So we have to wait a week to see what the judge is going to decide here. But essentially what he is determining is whether the Supreme Court's immunity ruling applies to this case in a way that the verdict should be thrown out completely. And the argument is that Trump says there was certain evidence that was allowed in that should be protected under that ruling. And he says that it's weighty enough that it would have changed the jury's verdict altogether. So Judge Merchan will ultimately have to decide, does the presidential immunity ruling apply enough that evidence was let in that shouldn't have been put before the jury? And if so, was it strong enough that it actually would have changed their ultimate decision? Or is it what's considered harmless error and the verdict would still stand? So we are going to be waiting another week for this now.
What happens, Katrina, if the judge lets the verdict stand?
Vlad, well, that means that we would potentially have a sentencing. There is a current date for November 26th, although no matter what he decides, there are a lot of questions about whether that would be allowed to stand. There is a strong argument that as Trump is transitioning into power, it would put an undue burden of him to have a sentencing date. As always, we can also anticipate that Trump would appeal the verdict. So that would start by going to the First Department in New York and could ultimately go all the way to the Supreme Court.
All right, Katrina Kaufman for us, reporting on those important details as the New York judge has delayed that decision on President Trump's immunity case. Katrina, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vlad.